Chavarim, hi. Okay, we'll continue with our tour and hopefully you'll get it this way. I'm sorry, there was obviously a problem that was unanticipated in terms of the network connections here, which worked brilliantly this morning. All of a sudden now we lost connection, but never mind. We'll try and get you this tour the same as if it would have been where we were at the top. Then we came through to the Meganim Square, the Defender Square, the center of the Haganah, and continued along this gorgeous alleyway that really represents a shtetl in Poland, with every second or third house either a kollel or a dormitory or a yeshiva. And we're here in a special place because if we wanted to find a place that someone took to heart, where the divine presence of Hashem and the Mashiach was the most intense, you would find it in Tzfat, right here, until the Messianic era will begin and the third temple will be built. And this was declared by Rabbi Yitzchak Luria back in the 16th century, one of the foremost Kabbalist people that we had, the mystics, who was here in 1570 in Tzfat. And the person who took it to heart was a special lady, and her name was Yocheved Rosenthal, who in the 50s, the 60s and the 70s lived down the bottom of this little alleyway that you're about to see, and Avi will point it so you can see how narrow this alleyway is. This is a legitimate alleyway recognized by the municipality, and Safta Yocheved, who outlived all her family, lived at the bottom of these stairs. And she used to come up these stairs holding onto the guardrail that the EIRA placed. You can see a little girl going down. Used to come up here to the top of the alleyway, sit down in front of this wall or under the Etz Harimon, under the pomegranate tree that you can see here, with 2 cups of tea. 1 cup for herself to sustain her during the day, but 1 cup for the Mashiach. Because everybody understood or believed that the Mashiach would come via Meron, through Tzfat, and on the way to Jerusalem to enter into the Messianic age and build a temple. And what better way to welcome him by Safta Yocheved, who I'm sure he would have been very tired after his journey from Zeh, and of course the little Kinderle, Ruskan Metin. This is a tantrum, but what can you do? It's okay. A Yiddish mother, she's got 10 other kids inside. I'm sure she'll take care of them. So we'll go down this little alleyway that she had to negotiate every single day. So Avi, my photographer, will go down carefully. It really is a steep. Remember, this wasn't a young woman. She did it every single day. Go down the alleyway. These houses date back 100, 150, some close to 180, and even 200 years and more. And Safta Yocheved lived in the house just here. It's been renovated obviously, but that's her. As we turn around and we walk along the alleyway here, and Avi can show you the steepness from here of where you saw the actual alleyway. As we continue on, have a look at the lattice works on the windows, on the doors, beautifully crafted that are here. Another kollel, Torat Raphael. Turn right and we go down this particular alleyway. Right, and we come right ahead of us to a sign. Bet Knesset Viznich, Tunis. What is going on here? 2 names? How are they connected? One, Vishnitz, a Ashkenazi name, Eastern European, and Tunis, Tunisia, North Africa. What's the story here? Well, this particular building, the Bet Knesset, has a long history. In the 18th century, the Hasidim from Eastern Europe came out to populate Sfat, creating two distinct communities, the Ashkenazi and the Sfaradim. And here, the Haredim, or the Hasidim, from the Admor of Menachem Mendel Hagel from Ukraine, stayed here in this Bet Knesset till 1946. Then for some reason they left and moved overseas. There was a chief rabbi here of Fatoussi, Pinto Fatoussi. He came here. Remember, the time element was 1948 to 1952. 650,000 Jews came from North African countries and had to be absorbed into the community. He needed a place for his kehillah, for his congregation, the Tunisian congregation. He had to have a Bet Knesset. He saw a building that was empty. He wrote to the Admor of Vizhnitz and asked him, would he be willing to allow them to establish their community here in this Bet Knesset? Obviously, the Admor agreed immediately. And in 1956, they opened up the Bet Knesset. But in gratitude to the Admor, he kept the name Vizhnitz because of the nedivut, the graciousness for him getting the Bet Knesset, but he added the word Tunisia. And this was the order, so the Ashkenazim, Haredim, who would have come here during that time, wouldn't have walked into a Bet Knesset that has a different nusach, a different type of prayer, songs, the liturgy, so they understood that this was a Sephardic community. So here you have a great example of a Bet Knesset that has two names to it, Vizhnitz and Tunis. Let's go. The old door, giving it the character and flavor. This is such a special place, such an aura that's here. We continue on. Turning right, here. Another yeshiva in front of us is there at Sfat. You can see the yeshiva bochurim here as well. Okay, we're turning left. Great little shop. Really, the Taglit kids come here, they swamp these shops in order to get the trinkets, the kippot, the different type of t-shirts that anyone can have, any flavor, the chamsot that are here as well. Okay, and we're moving into a special place. The Ashkenazi Sul called Ha'ari, the Ha'ari Ashkenazi Synagogue, named after a very famous Kabbalist rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria will come out of the sun a bit. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria was born in Yerushalayim. He lost his father at an early age. His mother took him to Egypt to live with their uncle. So he was brought up in his house, a Sephardic home. He in fact married his uncle's daughter. So he was fortunate in the sense that he was able to move between the two communities, the Sephardic and the Ashkenazi communities. When he came out here to Tzfat in 1570, the center of mysticism, the center of Kabbalistic learning, and of course established a presence here with his kehillah, with his students, a revered person. And he used to come here on Friday, and he used to stand here and then go down into the field in order to welcome the Shabbat. You can see in front of you the Galilee mountain. You can see Har Meron in the distance as well. At the bottom is the Sephardic cemetery. But he used to welcome the Shabbat facing west, and he used to recite the famous Shabbat prayer, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, that was put together by Rabbi El-Kabetz. Everyone knows Lecha Dodi, welcoming the Sabbath, the bride, Markat HaShabbat. The synagogue that we're about to enter here was built by immigrants from Greece. And it was first a Sephardic synagogue. It was called the Grigorus synagogue. After they left and the Hasidim came, they refurbished it, turned it into an Ashkenazi synagogue, and gave it the name after Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ha'ari, the lion. Let's go in. Before we go in, you can see here a concrete pillar. Concrete pillar has a depression, a little depression, a concave basin. And that concave basin that was there is there for a reason, because for those people who couldn't go to Har Meron in order to celebrate Lag BaOmer at the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, for the elderly and the sick of Tzfat who could not make the journey, they lit a bonfire here in that pillar so they could rejoice together with everyone else close to home that it was. So we're going into the This Beit Knesset was destroyed in the earthquake, 1837, and rebuilt in 1857. 1857 in terms of numerology is what is written up there in the inscription, "Thou shalt revere my temple," as we go in. Remember, this is the Beit Knesset as it was from hundreds of years ago. Simple, but absolutely beautiful. One of the best ones that we have here. If you have a look at this particular ornament here, that's Docker box, but have a look at the colors, the blue, the gold, the green. These are the same colors that are behind the parochet in the Aron HaKodesh. But have a look at this awesome Aron HaKodesh. We'll get to it in a minute. Before we get to the Aron, I want to point out this particular element here, the wooden base of the bima, covered by a perspex cover, and it says Nes HaResis, the miracle of the shrapnel. The story here, 1948, the War of Independence. The Hekila was still here. And all of a sudden, a bomb exploded just outside. The congregation inside were praying. They were doing Aleinu L'Shabeach, and halfway through it, they bowed down. The bomb exploded there. The shrapnel flew in, hit the bimah. If that isn't a miracle, I don't know what is, because no one was touched. No one was injured. Nes HaResis, the miracle of the shrapnel. Absolutely amazing. We go back to the Ark. The Ark itself was put together by a craftsman from Galicia. Have a look how ornate it is. Absolutely stunning. If you move up, as he goes up, though, have a look at the top, at the crown. It's tilted. What's the story here? How come it's not straight? Well, the guy who took the measurements here and ordered the craftsman in Galicia, who was a non-Jew, to put together the crown on top of the thing, didn't have the right measurements. When they came and they brought it here, they put it inside the recess, garnish from garnish, it wouldn't fit. So they had to lower it, incline it down in order for it to be. But that's a true story. But if you have a look at it as well, it's got the picture of a face, an image. Now the guy obviously didn't understand that in Judaism you cannot have a graven image. And all of a sudden they saw that and they said, "Nicht in unserer Shul," not in our shul. So they put together a body of a lion for an anthropomorphic figure, which meant it was beseder. It wasn't revering any image, it was just another symbol of it. So we go around. Hello. Now a miracle also occurred here when there was an earthquake. Rabbi Shmuel Heller was buried alive up to his neck in the rubble, but managed to survive and lost the use of his arm. But here in this corner here, which is cordoned off, that you can't get to it, is where he reported that he saw an image of Rabbi Yitzchak Luria come to him in a dream. So that is revealed. You cannot enter this section here. You've got behind you Elijah's chair, Kised Eliyahu Navi, beautifully ornate piece of furniture here as part of the synagogue. Remember, this is an Ashkenazi synagogue, so it's in the roads. Simple but stunning. Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, one of the foremost Kabbalistic teachers that we have. Let's go on. תודה רבה.
תזכו לי מצוות. תודה רבה לכם.
Right, we're going down. We're heading now towards the other section of the old city, the so-called artists' colony with all the history that's here. So it's not just arts and crafts, but it's part of the mysticism that we have here in Tzfat itself. Remember, we're doing a lightning tour here. Normally we would do this in 2 to 3 hours, just walking slowly, but we're trying to get you the feel of what is going on here. Effie. And we have another kihila, another community synagogue. But have a look, guys. You probably know, perhaps you even know the family. This Beit Knesset here, have a look, dedicated by Yosef Freilich West, born and raised in Kosovo, lived in Melbourne, Australia, and in memory of his wife, Alina Chaya Freilich West, Zechona Livracha. You possibly know the family or the remnants of that, or the next generation of it. And it's dedicated to the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust. Beautiful place in its own right. Kosovo, you can see the community that he came from. Right, we're going further along. Now, you can't just come to Tzfat and walk around the Ganze Tug the whole day without having something to eat. And what better way to come to Ronen, to come here, Yemenite, right, Yahut, special breads that the Yemenite community has. Kosher guys, so you've got no problem. Mendy, Esther, you can bring the guys, you can bring the kids, and just have a look at what he does.
So you guys like everything on top, the way we make it?
Everything, yes. No,
Everything.
Have a look. You're simply a flatbread, Yemenite flatbread.
everything.
Puts it down.
And what
And
else?
as you can see,
No
these
what?
beautiful girls here from Taglit telling us they'll have everything on it.
No
So he
it.
puts cheese, tomato, olives, harif if you like, the spicy side of it. Great stuff, great place to stop off. Clean toilets, of course. Ronen, tagit shalom
Shalom
l'chaverim.
lekulam, welcome everybody.
All right, a great guy. We will see him when you come out again. We'll have lunch here. Okay, guys. Tzfat today is full of tourists from Taglit. And what a great way to start with these young kids. And you know what? They were the first to be let in. Why? Because of what's happening on the campuses overseas. If we don't get this generation of students to come out and understand and learn what is going on here in Eretz Yisrael, the history side, our rights to this land, if we don't have this generation of young kids who have never been to Israel, we're going to lose something desperately, not now, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's why every effort was made to bring these kids here. They've all been vaccinated, so there's no problems here, God forbid, of anything catching anything. But they come, they see, they learn, and they buy. Pitchufkas, but they buy. Let's go. Okay, we're going to the right now. We're going to not the winery, guys. We're not here for the wine tour. That's a different tour that starts at 3 o'clock, but not today, right? But it has a winery here, so you can stop off for a glaze of wine, a bit of schnapps, a stick of vodka, the whole deal. We're going to the Abu Hav Synagogue, one of the most beautiful and ornate synagogues. I absolutely adore this place. Let's go. courtyard. These are the residents. They all live here. Obviously, hustle and bustle during the week and when there's a lot of internal and incoming tourism, but over Shabbos, Friday, Saturday, guys, it is magical. Magical here. It's all you hear, nigunim, singing, psalms, songs. But what better way to sit in your courtyard here and sit under your personal vines and have a couple of grapes or a glaze of tea or a beer, whatever suits you. Magnificent. Let's go down. Right. So we're about to get one of the most majestic views, even though we'll see a better one a little bit later on. But this is what it's all about. Have a look at this. Awesome escarpment of the Upper Galilee Hills, and of course the one on the right, Mount Meron. You can see the domes on top of it, because that, you know, people ask you how high is Mount Meron. Everybody knows, and it says 1208 meters above sea level. Well, bong, it's wrong. It's not that it's not 1208, but it is really 1204 meters. Where did the 4 meters go? That particular base. It is one of the most sensitive intelligence listening outposts for the IDF. So if somebody tells you how high, they ask you a question, how high is Mount Meron? You know the answer. Tell them it's 1204 and then explain why. Guys, as well, have a look at this. Not just a nail. It's a holy nail. It's not just a nail. Anything here is imbued with history involved in it. Let's go down into this alley, heading towards the Abu Haf synagogue, the blue synagogue. But look how much blue there is here, because blue is a Kabbalistic color. It's not just another color. Rabbi Karo, a famous Kabbalist, said blue signifies heaven, our connection to Hashem, the divine nature of our lives and our link to that. Blue is the color of the Talit. Blue is the color of heaven. Blue is the color of the sea. Why is that important? Because it's also to ward off the evil spirits. Because when Satan looks wherever he is, down, and he sees either the sky, he looks down and he sees the blue, he doesn't know whether it's the heaven, or whether it's the sea, or the afuch, the other way around. So he says, you know what? Los me'up, leave me alone, I'm going away. And so he leaves us alone. That's why blue is the dominant color that's here. To always remind us of our connection to the divine nature of Hashem. Ooh, a lot of people. Well, we're entering into the Abu Haf synagogue.
Guys, open a mouth, please. Open a mouth, please. It's a holy place. British.
Wow, DJI?
Yeah.
Mass number of the Taglit people, but this is the courtyard before we enter the actual Beit Knesset. And the courtyard is there for a purpose, not only for holding ceremonies, bar mitzvahs, weddings, whatever, but it's to allow the Kabbalist at that time, or the ordinary person today, to be able to contemplate and prepare himself in an appropriate frame of mind before he enters the shul. And for that, he goes to Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 19, where it talks about love thy neighbor as thyself, accept everybody, the charitable side, and understand that your neighbor is just as important as you are. Let's go in. The Azrat Nashim is at the top for the women. We're going in.
So webinar is taking anyone who wants to go, but bear in mind it's going to be.
And we meet here Shlomo, our resident Gabbai of the Beit Knesset, a wonderful man who gave up a lot of his time to allow me to come here before on a dry run. Shlomo, you're talking to CHABAD Melbourne.
Oh wow,
Nice
nice to see you, nice to meet you. My name.
And hopefully they will be coming here when the skies are open and they can see for themselves what we're about to see
Yeah,
here.
it's very beautiful, very beautiful.
Okay.
You guys doing a very good job. I hope that you will be successful with this and everybody will come to Israel.
Yetz Hashem, Baruch Hashem, it'll happen. Right, this is, I would tell you, this is one of the most stunning synagogues that exist in the country. And not because of the modern furniture, not because of the modern ornaments, and not because of a particular tile, because of its absolute simplicity, the same as what it was from 400 years ago. And it just generates everything about it. This is named after Rabbi Yitzchak Abu Hav from Spain, 14th century scholar, rabbinical scholar, who did not come out but urged his congregation to come out. They came out, built a synagogue. He never came out, but they brought with them the Abu Hav Torah scroll, which is probably the oldest Torah scroll there is in Eretz Yisrael today. And it is right in that ark where we see it on the right-hand side. In fact, there are 3 arks. If you have a look, there's 3 arks, 1, 2, 3. On the left is an ark that has in it the Gnizah, the archives, the old books, right? Those who are out of use. By the way, there's a story attached here because a lot of the guides will tell you that it once used to hold a Quran under the Ottoman Empire, who said that you have to have a Quran in your synagogue. Well, when you talk to the people here, they say it's not true, it's just a folklore, but it doesn't matter. The middle one holds the regular Torah, Sifrei Torah, for Monday, Thursday, Shabbos, and the Chagim. And the one on the right holds the Abu Hav Torah scroll. And it only comes out 3 times a year. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shavuot. It's under lock and key, so even if I wanted to show you, I couldn't, because that's the only time that they allow you to come in and take out the Sefer Torah to do it. But this has so much symbolism attached to it. It is awesome. Have a look. The central kippah, 1 kippah, which means we're talking about the Hashem, for one God. And then we begin. On both sides of the bima, you have a pair of stairs, 2 sides, right? You can see one on either side. And the reason for that is that it's meant to signify, in terms of the mystic side, the 2 Luchot Habrit, the 2 tablets that Moses brought down from Sinai. You have the numerical 3. 3 is the 3 Aronot HaKodesh for the 3 holy patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. 4 that you have is the columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, supporting the kippah for the 4 patriarchal mothers that we have. 5 at the bima at the top, you can come up. Having 5 seats around the bima. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's 5 for the 5 Chumshei Torah, the Chumash, the 5 books that we have. 6 is the number of steps for Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, the 6 tractates. But you could also signify the 6 days of the week, and the top one, the 7th, Shabbat, the most important day in the Jewish calendar. 8 supporting poles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that signifies the days before circumcision. 9 that we have here is the 9 different domes. There are 9 domes here for 9 months of pregnancy. At the top you have 10 windows. 10 windows are for the 10 commandments. And 12 is the number of windows in the interior of the Beit Knesset that signifies the 12 tribes that we have, 12 tribes of Israel. And if you have a look at the kippah, and you have a look at what's going on, have a look at the musical instruments. Musical instruments that we have here, the kinnor, the chatzatza, were the instruments that the tribe of Levi used in the temple in serving. But there are 5 crowns here as well. Have a look in the top kippah. Keter Kahana, right? The crown of the priesthood. Then the Keter of Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. Then the Keter of Krova Yeshua, the age of redemption. And of course, the Keter Malchut, the crown of kingdomships. And the Keter Torah, the Keter for the Torah that we have. And you also have the Makom Bet HaMikdash. And why would that be here? Always to remind us of the loss of our two temples, but also you could say, don't forget this is under the Ottoman era, to show, you know what, we know that you have the Dome of the Rock there, but we also had a Bet Mikdash here at the same time. So that is absolutely awesome. But I want to tell you another little story, a special story that Shlomo the Gabbai told me, the importance of what happened here with the Abu Hav Torah scroll hundreds of years ago. They brought out the Torah scroll, they put it on the bimah, and by the way, the Torah scrolls in a Sephardic synagogue, right, is upright. You can see here, it's not on an angle that you have in the Ashkenazi synagogue, it's upright, but you can see they read and they turn it around to get to the next parasha. Well, they took out the Sefer Torah, they placed it upright, they called up an Aliyah Torah, the guy came, read his portion, and all of a sudden, he read a word that shouldn't have been there. And the word that should have been there is this word, gerah, chewing its cud, because they were reading it in Leviticus. In Leviticus on the laws of kashrut, what you can eat and what you can't eat. So, you can eat an animal that chews its cud and has a cloven hoof. But instead of gerah, the word that was written that he saw was neda, nun dalet hey, pretty close, hey, the Reish and the Dalet close, and the Gimel a little bit chupchik. All of a sudden, Neda means to exclude or banish. What is going on here? There was consternation in the Kehillah. You can't have a word that's not right. They brought in the Chazan, they brought in the Rav. They said, look what's going on here. It's the wrong thing. Well, immediately, the Torah is pasul. You can't read a non-kosher Torah. They closed it up, tied it up with a ribbon, a cloth, and they put it aside. Motzei Shabbos, this was on Shabbat, Motzei Shabbos, they called in 30 experts, leading scholars, to come in. They opened up the Sefer Torah, and what did they see? They said, what are you talking about? Why did you schlep us all the way here? The word is written as it should be. Gimel, Reish, Hey. What the guy who was called the Aliyah, and he says, you're right, what's going on? Why did you do it? It's exactly as it should be. So they said, bring the guy who had the Aliyah Torah. They schlepped him out of his house, they brought him here. He didn't know what was going on, and they made him relate the story, and they said, listen, tell us, has something happened in your house, something that's not of the normal? And he said, the only thing that's happening in my house at the moment is that my wife is in her menstrual period. And that is the other meaning of the word nida. Not to exclude or banish, but it also means the menstrual period. Now, during the time of the menstrual period, the woman is, for want of a better word, impure, unclean. Until she finishes, then she goes to the mikveh, and everything is back to normal to what it was. So they understood that the Torah, when he was reading it, knew that this guy should not have been called up here because he was in contact with his wife, and therefore pushed him away by writing the word neda instead of gerah. When he finished and went away, the word itself miraculously returned to the gerah, and everything was kosher and so forth. That is a true documented story. Guys, miracles happen here all the time, and it could only happen here in Sfat. So we'll go around the side. We'll show you one or two more things. Simple. I asked Shlomo as well, listen, what's going on here? Where do you get your funding from? Does the government help? You've got a big misada at the top, they would give you millions for this. And he says, no. We don't get a penny from the government, and in fact, we don't want any money from the government. I said, why? And he said, because if we were to become a government affiliate, and they would tell us what to do. You can't use this, you have to upgrade that, the lighting isn't exactly, the switch isn't right, move it here, move it there. They said, Lozme, we don't want anybody, no government interference, we'll deal with ourselves. And believe me, they say they get enough funding from the community, for weddings, for bar mitzvahs, for the kehilot that come from overseas guests as well. That's how they retain their funding for here. We walk around. You can see purely Sephardic shul. It's in the Torah of a chet, right? Not like an Ashkenazi that has pews one behind the other, like in GLEN EIRA in your synagogue. This is a Sephardic synagogue. We come around here to this particular two ornaments, two chairs. This is the largest chair, 200 years old. It was just 2007, it was refurbished a bit, but the largest chair, and of course, the smaller chair for the Brit Milah, for where the bassinet for the baby before they give it to the sandak, to the godfather. But you'd be surprised that a lot of couples who have trouble with infertility or cannot conceive come, sit on the chair and pray for things to be okay. And that's been going on for over 200 years. Let's continue on. One more beautiful look at this Viman. When you guys come here, we'll have the tour, you'll see it for yourself, how beautiful this is in its simplicity. That's the beauty of this synagogue. And we say goodbye to our host Shlomo, and we hope, God willing, you guys will be able to come out in the not too distant future, come and be hosted by him and see for yourself the beauty of the Abu Haf synagogue. Toda Rabba Shlomo.
Kol tov lachem.
Says Git, it's now Sheket again. The kids have gone, we've got it all to ourselves. No kopfveduk here, no headaches. Kol beset. As we go down, again you can see blue, non-stop, all around. That was the Abu Haf synagogue. This is a private house. And then there's another synagogue, the El Shaykh synagogue, another leading Kabbalistic rabbi. The story here, talk about miracles again, here's another miracle for you. 2006, the war of attrition. Katyushas were fired from Lebanon. Katyushas were fired for Lebanon. The rocket fell right here, in this house. The inside exploded. Enormous damage to the house, but not one of the two synagogues were touched. The southern wall of the synagogue in Abu Haf that contains the Abu Haf scroll, completely undamaged. And that was, by the way, the only surviving wall from the 1837 earthquake, remained intact. Same with the El Shaykh. Nothing, not a scratch, but the house here, direct hit. Miracle? Or how else can you explain it? There isn't any other way. Back to the artist colony. Another back in the square, the CHABAD square, where it's written the words for the prayer that we all recite on Erev Shabbat, on Yom Shishi, that we have by Shlomo Halevi al-Kabatz and used by Rabbi Luria itself. Let me tell you two more stories about Rabbi Luria, a special man. We'll go in the shade. And another Rabbi, Sargosi. Concerning Rabbi Luria, there was a famous fencing coach here in Israel called Mordechai Tzababa. Mordechai Tzababa was invited by the Olympic Committee to join the Olympic Games as a guest. Who would refuse something like that? What an honor. He said, yes, of course, I'll be more than willing to come. He went to sleep that night, he had a dream. A guy with a flowing beard came up to him and said, Mordechai, al telech, don't go. He didn't think twice about it. Second night, he had the same dream. The guy came to him and told him, Mordechai, don't go. Third night it happened. The same figure appeared in his dream but said, Mordechai, I'm Rabbi Yitzchak Luria. Don't go with the Olympic team. This was enough for him to understand. He rang up the next morning, the Olympic Committee, and he said, you know what? Told him the story, and he said, I don't care whether you believe it or not, but I'm not going, I'm declining the offer. What did it turn out? What was the year? September 1972, the Munich Olympic Games. Otherwise, he would not have come back. Miracle? How else do you explain it? And the one with Rabbi Sargossi, another famous from the Banai shul that we have here, the Ottoman governor issued a decree to the Jewish community and said, you have to bring me 300 weiße Händelich, 300 white chickens. Where are they going to get 300 white chickens? All they had was multicolored chickens. Who can get 300 white chickens? They didn't know what to do. One of the community people slept that night in the Panay Bet Knesset. In his dream, a rabbi came and he told him, listen, I'm Rav Yossi Sargusi. Bring the chickens to the cemetery and place them around my grave. He's buried in Sfat Cemetery along many of the others, which they did. Lo and behold, the next morning they went to collect the chickens, 300 white chickens. Took it to the Ottoman governor, he was impressed and immediately cancelled the restrictions against the Jewish community. Miracle? How else do you explain it? Only here in Sfat. Let's continue on. So we're going through the alleyways to our last stop. That this would have been, it's an intentional. You can see whatever you want, you can find here talitot of every type, style, description, level of budget. The guts of the chef. Hand woven ones, hand woven, beautiful artwork that we have here. Nice little open square that you can come with a group, you sit down, you discuss what you saw. Piece of street art that's here by Solomon Souza, that I know personally. When you come here, guys, I'll take you on a special street art and graffiti tour. Solomon Souza, a religious boy, yeshiva bocher from England. Both his parents were artists as well. And came out from England, stayed at the yeshiva, couldn't quite find his place. He decided I'm going to become a street artist, and that's what he does for a living. He goes around and puts together these awesome, this is a little bit scrubbed out, but if you go to Machaneh Yehuda, and I'll take you there, Machaneh Yehuda has 325 shutters of the duchanim, of the stall, 325. He's put 92 of the shutters with his street art. Very talented boy, and all he asks is not payment, pay me for the brushes and pay me for the paints. But he doesn't ask for payment. Let's go. Special man, special purpose, great tour in its own right. Let's go. Beautiful, absolutely stunning. The works of art that you have here.
תודה רבה, הקשבתי וזה היה מאוד טוב לי, תודה.
Everywhere you go, in between the courtyard, the beautiful views. You can never get enough of it. You can never get enough of it. Okay, now we're turning into here. The fig tree courtyard. Chetzer Etz Hateina. Let's go in. Special place as well. Beautiful courtyard. Center of the Kabbalah of Tzfat. Workshops up the top. You can do candle making. You can do all sorts of stuff with the kids at the same time. But a lot of history packed into this area here. And you can see this particular tree. This particular tree is well over 150 years old, put together by the Hamami family. Hamami family, residents of Tzfat, very wealthy family, and they were given a monopoly by the Turkish governor to be the sole providers of kerosene for the residents of Tzfat. But have a look, a thriving tree to this day. Trouble was, the family itself petered out with two brothers who didn't marry, so it was the end of the lineage, but a lot of history with this family dynasty that was here. The cistern, 260 years old, dug here, 9 meters, 30 feet deep, to provide water for the residents of the courtyard itself. Okay, so we're going up. By the way, they've got great deals on taluses and kippot here, guys, so feel free to come in at any time. I don't get a commission, so it makes no difference whether you buy or don't buy, but a great place. As we're going up to perhaps the most stunning view that there is. Coming up a couple of stairs. And we spoke about it before, Olam HaKabbalah, guys, Chokhmah, Da'at, right? CHABAD, part of it here. Stairs, not that bad, you can do it in stages, no one's in any hurry here, but this is worth the schlep up the stairs. Absolutely, have a look at this as we come up, that Avi will put it into perspective for you. Guys, is this a view or is this a view? Absolutely stunning. Look what we have here. The hills of the Galilee, spreading right across the valleys to our left, and across the other side of that antenna in the distance is already Lebanon. So, when we had the tour of the Hashmonaim people, right, and we talked about Antiochus, the cholera, Antiochus IV, well, we have another one up here north. Because from here, as the crow flies, a couple of, 10 Ks at the most, travel from here to the border, 30 minutes. We've got another shtick in the Vele, Nasrallah. Yamach Shemo v'zichro ma'nasulim azol Laban. He's over there, so we have quite a few of people that we have to deal with. But, so, Chaverim, what a great way to end. We're looking back at what we've just seen and heard and touched, or at least what I've touched. And so will you as well when this cholera of a pandemic is over and you come here for yourselves. While Kabbalists, Crusaders, empires, and artisans and craftsmen all have a place in the story of this Galilean city, dating back 2,000 years, the two biggest draw cards are one, the artist colony, which has undergone a major transformation. As 30 years ago, this main street was empty, and today it's full of galleries. But its main significance are the religious sites. Centering around the 14th to the 16th century rabbinical mystics such as Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, Yitzchak Abuhar, Yosef Karo, Kordova, Sheikh, and many others. Tzfat is one of the four holy cities, along with Jerusalem, Hebron, and Tiberias. You may not be aware, but each one of these cities have an element attached to it. Jerusalem, translation, war of Hashem, the element of fire, Esh, Akadat Yitzchak, home to two destroyed temples by fire, Batei HaMikdash, the heart of Judaism. And since our exile, we have longed for Jerusalem, where it burns like a fire within our souls. Our passion for Jerusalem never burns out. Hence, the element is fire. Hebron, the element is earth, Adamah. Part of our history since Abraham brought a cave from Hebron the Hittite, the cave known as, in Genesis 23, as Marat HaMachpelah, cave of the patriarchs, where Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah are all buried. So the Hebron element is earth. Tiberias, the element is water, main, along the coast of the Sea of Galilee, so it would seem to be a natural element to have. Home to hot springs, but as a holy city. Tiberias is important, came after the second temple was destroyed and the Sanhedrin, the supreme rabbinical court of the Jewish people, moved around from city to city until it made its final place at Tiberias, where it remained there from 193 AD to 425 before it was disbanded. But the last is Tzfat, and the element here is air, Luft. Something is different here. This mountaintop city has the element of air when you realize and understand the spirituality of this particular place. No other city has this. Known as the city of the Kabbalah, as we learned, Tzfat is a mystical city, and its contribution is in our deepening knowledge of the Halakha, the Shulchan Aruch, the Zohar, the inner meanings of our religion, and also the burial place of great Rabbanim. You see blue everywhere. Not only as a Kabbalistic color, but it makes the city seem like an airy place surrounded by majestic views. People who spend a day or two here feel that it's an uplifting experience. It's a place where you don't feel pressure. You just feel inspiration and holiness. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour. Sorry for the glitch. I look forward to hosting you here so you too can feel the special aura that I feel each time I come to Tzfat. Toda Rabah.